Okay, hello, Alex Dollin. Thank you for joining us on Life Before the Virus.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so my full-time job is I produce the morning show for News 12 Long Island. I have a little bit of an on-air segment also, which has now kind of been postponed, like so many things, because of what's going on. And then I also run a mobile entertainment company, and again, also that's just been kind of crazy. Everything's been on hold with that too.
So right now we're speaking, you're at home, but behind you it looks like you're in a little news studio.
Yeah, so before this whole thing happened, I would never have believed that you'd be able to produce an entire newscast from home, and somehow we're doing it every day. It's crazy. So I have my whole setup here, just like I'd have at work. So I took my work computer home, and I work through VPN, like a secure server. And then it's pretty low tech, honestly. We just have a camera into our control room that I have on another screen behind me, so I can see all the monitors that I would see at work, and I have a direct line into the control room, and I'm talking to the director who's physically taking everything on air. So I'm still writing the show, building the show, and then everybody that I'm working with is remote. So even traffic and weather right now on News 12, they have setups inside their own homes, and everybody just kind of dials in, and it's all punched up on air. It's amazing how it all comes together.
Now, when I interned at News 12 Long Island, that's how we met. I
Yes.
saw in that control room were a million monitors and a lot of people and a lot of different people doing a lot of different things. So how do you do this remotely?
Right. So, as you know, a newsroom is extremely interactive. There's yelling sometimes. There's just a lot of like personal interaction, and so it's weird having everybody remote, but we do it all through the phone. So me talking to the director is just done over the phone. I make a lot of phone calls just like I would from my desk, but I do it remotely. Everybody's in their own homes. The weirdest part is that the anchors are separated from each other. And so you kind of, that personal connection is lost a little bit. The chatting during the commercial breaks. Erin Colton is now working out of her home. So they set up a whole camera lighting studio in her house. And Elizabeth is alone in the studio so that they can be, distant from each other. Elizabeth's kind of the only one there right now. So it's weird, but you know what? We're able to get a full show on the air every day the same way that we would.
I know when you watch it on TV, you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, there's a little bit of maybe audio quality, and also with the delays from everybody being in different places, the interactions are a little harder. They'll try to talk to each other, and then there's a delay, and then they step on each other. So there's some slight awkwardness that happens, but for the most part, I mean, we're able to get a show on the air, and most importantly, bring information to people that need it right now. And I have to say, I give a lot of credit to our reporters who are still out there working. I've watched the whole transformation to them just trying to stay distant, and them having the same camera crews, and now them out wearing masks. And we stopped what we call MOS, like man on the street interviews, and everything is done through Skype for the most part now, or Zoom. And they're out there telling incredible stories.
Do you think you're doing more work now or less work?
I think there's a little bit more work that happens because now that we're all working from home, I think we're putting in more hours, I would say. If you ask anybody, they say they're putting in more hours working from home. And I know the reporters are.
What's the message that you put out there to people watching? I'm sure everyone wants to know.
Yeah, well, so again, I was talking about our reporters before. They've done some incredible storytelling, and my job as a producer is really to balance, what people need to know versus what they want to know. And right now it's a lot of horrifying, depressing news. And so part of the art of good producing is to really make sure that my show is well balanced, and so that I have a lot of what you need to know, and the sad, horrible numbers and the deaths, and then also balance that with good stories. And you know what? There's so many good stories that are coming out now, and I really am enjoying putting the shows together because we have so many more just positive stories. People recovering from the virus. Huntington Hospital just had their 500th recovery walk out of there, and we were there with cameras. That was amazing. And you're hearing more and more of these stories. And so we're getting to tell those, the positive, uplifting stories too, because, it's draining emotionally on us and even the anchors, just, having to repeat these numbers and then, talk about work numbers. And it can be a lot.
So, is there anyone at the assignment desk when someone calls with breaking news? Is there anyone that answers that phone call?
The assignment desk is working remotely also. So there's a number of people that make up our assignment desk, and all of them are working from their individual homes. And they're still filtering all the stories that come in. They're filtering all the tips that come in, and they're just remotely sending them to the reporters, sending them to us. We work a lot through email, through phone. It's, you know, at work, I'm in a control room separated from my anchors anyway. So I'm sort of doing what I've always been doing. It's just now I can't walk in a commercial break and give them information, say hello, and talk about our days. You know, now it's there's a little bit of a disconnect there, and it's sad. You know, like Elizabeth said to me the other day, she's like, I can't wait to like see you in person and like give you a hug again. You know, it's bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. I think there's like a lack of human contact in general. You know. And so that's why people are so tuned to the news though right now. They want to see what's going on out there and hear those stories and what people are doing and how everybody's surviving. And there's so many aspects to this, you know, mental health. And like we were talking before, my wife has lupus. And so I was one of the first people at News 12 that said, hey, listen, I'm not comfortable coming in. And they were so accommodating. They were great. They were like, okay, do you have a hardwired connection? You know, come in quickly, grab your work computer. We'll set you up from home. And I was one of the first employees that was working remotely, just because she's in that higher risk category, and so it was scary, you know. And it's just work is work, but it's not worth, you know, endangering a loved one. So yeah, they set me up from home, and I've been working home ever since. And now everybody's working from home.
Right. Wow. So even setting you up, so what did that require? Like a technician to come and with wires? Like what did that look like?
Right. That's a good question. For us, it was a little easier. The people who are on air, they need proper lighting, proper audio, a good camera. So we actually sent people from the studio to those people. To the employees like myself who work behind the scenes, we were able to just use our work computers. We couldn't use a regular laptop because it's not considered safe. It's a closed network. And so I had to go physically pick up my work computer and dial into the network. But being on that network, I can build my graphics. I can access like our shared drives. So it's been okay, you know, knock on wood with internet. I lost power at my house once, and I had to go to my in-laws' house and work out of the basement. And all I needed was an internet connection, really. And I was able to just work that way. But, you know, not having power was really scary.
Did you bring all that stuff with you?
I just brought the one computer behind me that right there. So I wasn't boothing from home yet. I was actually still just writing the show and producing it. And then there was another producer in the control room who would take over. And now I'm doing the entire thing, you know, through the computer and through the phone. But at the time I wasn't. So it was a little bit easier to just move the one computer over. But I was, you know, it was scary during the storm. And of course, you know, not many people lost power, and we did.
What about getting the B-roll? I remember going and there were like physical discs of different types of B-roll in a room, right?
Yeah, so that's been digitized now, which has made things very helpful, because any file that we need, the writers and producers like myself can look it up from home and, you know, put the time codes into the computer. Then an editor pulls it up physically on the computer, and they put the time codes in, and then it goes, you know, on air. So yes, it's amazing that all that has happened, because if it was all physical tapes, I think we'd all be screwed at this point, because how would you do it, you know? So we've come a long way, and it happened just in time, honestly, for this, you know?
Wow.
But I would not have believed that I would have been able to produce a show before this, you know, being away from the newsroom. So I think a lot of people have realized that they can work from home now, you know?
Yeah. What else do you lack? Is there anything else that you lack behind you in your little home studio that you would have in the newsroom?
Yes, actually, and this is pretty big. So in order to give information, as you know, to somebody who's on air live, they wear what's called IFB in their ear, interrupted feedback. Yeah. And so I don't have the ability from home to give them information quickly when they're on air. So when the camera's on them and they're reading and you have to tell them something, you know, this is a skill you develop too when you're on air, to be able to listen to somebody talking to you while you're speaking. Right. And I've also learned to be very, you know, concise in what I say to them, you know, wrap, or, you know, next, or, you know, stop. You know, you have to just like kind of learn how to give them information quickly. And so we don't have the IFB system worked out from home. So any information that I want to give them, I have to we have what's called top lining, which is like an instant message service. So I can instant message them through the program that we're all on. Mm-hmm. But that's not as quick. I can text them. I really just have to tell the director, tell Elizabeth, tell Aaron, and then he has to get in their ear because he's the only one who's still in the studio. But that's been frustrating that we don't have that.
Wow. What about other newsrooms? Are you in touch with other networks and compared notes with other producers as to how they're doing it?
I have some friends who are, working at other stations, some city stations, some other people on Long Island, and everybody is slowly, moving to the work from home model. The reporters, I've watched the transition. They're all sort of doing the same things. I've watched producers and more on-air talent move to their home offices and studios. First, it started where the anchors would just sit at the same desk, like apart from each other.
Right.
Then it would go to two anchors in different studios, and now it's become somebody's at home, somebody's in the studio, and they're very separated. So I feel like I've watched the whole transition on, like Channel 4 was last to do that. CBS was one of the first to do it. I think we probably fell somewhere in the middle, but we're all just trying to get by and bring the information to the people and tell some good uplifting stories as well. There's so much good that's happening now. There really is. It's been nice watching the change. I hope it continues, honestly.
I hope it continues too. And thank you so much. How interesting this is. What a job.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Of course.